In the days when traveling between villages required long journeys through dense forests and over mountain passes, two men named Marcus and Felix set out together on a trading expedition to the neighboring kingdom. They had been friends since childhood and had decided to travel together both for companionship and for safety, as the roads were known to be dangerous for solitary travelers. Marcus and Felix had grown up in the same village and had always been considered the best of friends. They had played together as children, worked side by side as young men, and now, as adults, they trusted each other enough to embark on this important business venture together. Before leaving their village, the two friends had made solemn promises to each other about loyalty and mutual support during their journey.
Whatever dangers we might face on the road,
Marcus had declared, earnestly,
we will face them together. We will watch out for each other and never abandon our friendship, no matter what challenges arise.
Absolutely, my dear friend. We have been through so much together already. I would never dream of abandoning you in a time of need. We will stick together through thick and thin, just as we always have.
their fellow villagers had praised this friendship and wished them well on their journey, confident that the two men would take good care of each other during the long and potentially perilous trip ahead. The first several days of their journey passed pleasantly and without incident. Marcus and Felix enjoyed each other's company as they walked along the winding forest paths, sharing stories, discussing their business plans, and marveling at the beautiful scenery around them. They helped each other set up camp each evening, shared their food and water equally, and took turns keeping watch during the night. Everything seemed to confirm that their friendship was as strong and reliable as they had always believed it to be. However, on the fourth day of their journey, as they were walking through a particularly dense section of forest where the trees grew so thickly that very little sunlight reached the ground, they encountered a situation that would test their friendship in ways they had never imagined. As they rounded a bend in the forest path, both men suddenly froze in terror. There, blocking their way forward, stood an enormous brown bear. The massive creature was clearly agitated, perhaps protecting cubs nearby or defending its territory from what it perceived as intruders. The bear reared up on its hind legs, displaying its impressive size and strength, and let out a thunderous roar that echoed through the forest. Its powerful claws gleamed menacingly, and its eyes fixed on the two travelers with unmistakable hostility. Marcus and Felix found themselves face to face with exactly the kind of mortal danger they had promised to face together with courage and mutual support. This was the moment when their proclaimed loyalty and friendship would be put to the ultimate test. For a split second, both men stood paralyzed with fear, their minds racing as they tried to think of a strategy for dealing with this terrifying situation. They both knew that bears were incredibly dangerous opponents, too strong to fight, too fast to outrun, and too intelligent to fool easily. But then, instead of turning to his friend for mutual support and cooperation as he had promised, Felix made a decision that revealed his true character under pressure. Without saying a word to Marcus, without any attempt to coordinate a joint response to the danger, and without any consideration for his friend's safety, Felix suddenly turned and bolted toward the nearest large tree that looked suitable for climbing. Felix scrambled up the tree with desperate speed, using his fear-induced adrenaline to pull himself from branch to branch until he reached what he considered a safe height. Only then did he look down to see what had become of his traveling companion. Marcus, meanwhile, had been abandoned to face the enormous bear entirely alone. He found himself in a hopeless situation. He was not fast enough to reach a climbable tree before the bear could catch him, not strong enough to fight such a powerful opponent, and not equipped with any weapons that could drive the creature away. In his desperation, Marcus remembered something he had once heard from an old hunter in his village, that bears sometimes will not attack prey that appears to already be dead. It was his only hope for survival. Marcus immediately threw himself to the ground and lay as still as possible, holding his breath and trying to appear lifeless. He closed his eyes tightly and forced himself to remain completely motionless, even when he heard the heavy footsteps of the bear approaching. The massive bear lumbered over to where Marcus lay and began to investigate this strange human who had suddenly collapsed. The bear sniffed around Marcus's body, paying particular attention to his head and face, trying to determine whether this was a living threat or simply carrion. For what felt like an eternity, Marcus lay perfectly still while the enormous bear examined him. He could feel the creature's hot breath on his face and neck, could smell its wild, musky scent, and could hear its deep, rumbling breathing just inches from his ear. The bear continued its investigation for several more terrifying minutes, occasionally nudging Marcus gently with its massive paw to test for any response. Marcus used every ounce of willpower he possessed to remain completely motionless and unresponsive. Finally, apparently convinced that Marcus posed no threat and was of no interest as food, the bear lost interest and lumbered away into the deeper parts of the forest, leaving the path clear once again. Marcus waited several more minutes to be absolutely certain the bear was gone before he dared to move. Only when he was sure it was safe did he slowly open his eyes and carefully sit up, his entire body trembling from the terrifying ordeal he had just survived. As Marcus shakily got to his feet and brushed the dirt from his clothes, Felix came scrambling down from his tree, apparently believing the danger had passed.
Oh, Marcus! I'm so glad you're safe. That was absolutely terrifying. I was so worried about you up there in the tree.
Marcus looked at his supposed friend with a mixture of hurt, disappointment, and bitter understanding. The dangerous encounter with the bear had revealed the true nature of Felix's character and the real value of his proclaimed friendship.
Were you worried about me, Felix?
Marcus asked quietly, his voice heavy with the pain of betrayal.
Were you thinking about our promises of loyalty and mutual support when you ran for that tree without a word of warning or any attempt to help me?
Felix shifted uncomfortably, apparently realizing that his actions had not lived up to his earlier promises.
Well, Marcus, you have to understand it was such a shocking situation. I acted on pure instinct. There wasn't time to think or plan or coordinate anything.
I understand completely, Felix. In moments of real danger, people reveal their true character. They show what they really value and who they really care about.
But we're both safe now. That's what matters. We can continue our journey and put this frightening experience behind us.
Misfortune tests the sincerity of friends. A true friend is known in times of danger.